If Genji had lowered Dragon Blade charge, would you think we'd see more Lucy and Zen play as counters to their ultimates? Maybe. Maybe. The problem is that it's not the ult charge rate, it's the fact that he can just kill squishies so fast now if they don't have armor pack. So like Zen isn't not being played because he doesn't build trans fast stuff. I mean, maybe that's like 5%. It's because Zen just dies. If he doesn't have a break, he just dies. Genji's just a murder machine without his ultimate. And the same thing goes for Lucio, because yeah, Lucio is still kind of hard to kill. He's a lot easier to kill than he used to be, but he can't really kill as well as a break can. So you just die. So, yeah. Anyway, so that would help like 5%, but that's not the major problem. Can you go over rotations and meta versus meta, like how to use shields? Try and stack your shields, push on corners and with shield pressure, and have your Ashe off angle generally. I don't know what you mean by rotation, so I need you to like ask more clearly, because I don't know if you mean like movement or like engagement or what, but this is not a clear question. And the problem with this is like, it's such a hard question to answer, because even if I understood what you were saying, it would still be a long question to answer. I'd have got to go in detail, and I don't want to go in detail before I understand what you're asking. Do you think it's a good idea to take off angles and Zenyatta to stay in the back? I think it's good to take off angles in the back. Close off angles sometimes work, but it depends on what they're running. But generally, like, you want to create some distance and take off angles off that. Like you guys saw the VOD that we just went over. He was taking off angles sometimes. Not crazy flanks, but off angles. But he was trying to keep everything in front of him. I just think that's generally a better way to play Zen, more consistently anyway. What are some bad habits developed in solo queue regardless of rank for context on Heim Diamond that don't work in scrims matches? Just joining into a first match is a lot different comp. Big thing is communication. Like in ranked, sometimes you don't talk as much. Sometimes you might not even have your mic active. Maybe you're not even voice if your team is toxic. But like once you get into scrims, you don't have to shot call, but you need to like give info to your team of what's going on. Like, hey, there's a Genji diving me. Hey, I want to trance this. You know, I want to push this way. I want to rotate that way. I want to blade next fight. Okay, they have, you know, helping with ult tracking. That kind of stuff is something that a lot of players don't have a lot of practice with, because they haven't really done it a lot in ranked. So knowing how to communicate in this game of Overwatch competitively is something that can be tricky, that if you build a bad habit of not communicating in ranked, because communication in ranked is a little hit or miss. Trying to think, what are some other bad habits you might develop? Nothing really speaks immediately. Like there's cheap ways to win fights and stuff like that, but I don't know. I don't really recommend those even in ranked. Second question: how do you position yourself against a Widow as a double shield comp meta right now? Always angles as always, and just keep in mind that their shields break pretty fast. So just angles and long sight lines, because the longer the sight line, the less powerful the shield. So like think of it this way: if I'm you know Orisa and my shield is this, and I'm Sigma and my shield is this, and I am anywhere here, I'm here as Widow, right? Somewhere along this spectrum, okay? My sight lines behind shield are really here, here, and here, right? So there's not a lot of positions. So like really I can only position here to shoot past shield, here to shoot past shield, and here to shoot past shield, right? So my options to bypass shield are limited. But if I play distance better, and I have more distance between myself and the team, so let's say here, and this spectrum, the spaces that I can play that bypass shield are a lot wider. You guys see this? This is the world's worst drawing, but you'll get the idea. So like instead of only playing in those yellow circles, now if I play a little bit further back, now the spots that I can play that bypass shield are a lot bigger. There's a lot more spots for me to play. But you still want to take angles, you just want to have it in a more distance. And it's not only that, but think of it this way too. If I'm Sigma and I'm trying to shield off a Widow who's standing right here, I do this, right? I just shield. But like, let's say the Widow is really, really far away. Her angle here is this, right? But her angle here is this. So it's a lot harder to shield off the Widowmaker when she's farther away. So it doesn't, like, distance is helpful whenever you can, which is why people run Widowmaker on like Havana first, because it's nearly impossible to shield off a Widow in Havana first. You just can't do it. You can annoy her a little bit, but you can't permanently do it. It's impossible. There's so much more space, right? But on like a King's Row, if you're playing Widowmaker into double shield on King's Row, good luck, because your sightlines are a lot tighter until like third point, and so it's really hard for you to get a good angle. So TLDR, you can play Widowmaker in a double shield. Shields are breakable, take angles, and if it's a closed in space map, you're going to have a bad time. Yes, it is map based depending on the length of sightlines. Yes. Okay. How should a Sigma play in a dive? Assuming comp has current double shield but no Brig. Brig, Genji, or oops, you guys can see this. Genji, Ashe, Orisa Sig, Bat Mercy. It's hard to know what to do when diving engages on you. So a lot of times is you want to off angle slightly. So like, you know, Orisa's here, off angle slightly, and you want to use your tanks as bait. You want to shoot their tanks, use yourself and your Orisa as bait, and when you get dove, S key and spam. S key and spam. Just spam the tanks, spam the tanks, spam the tanks. When your team or you or your backline is getting dove, play slow. And then once you peel the dive, survive the dive, you push back up again. It's really not more complicated than that. You can try, I mean, we can go into micro of like shielding your backline or rocking the enemy tank or shifting the enemy tracer for pulse bomb on your backline. But really the big thing is just like spam, 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 spam tanks. When you get dove, back up, give space, play spammy. Use yourself as bait, and then once the dive tank has finished, you push back up again. Okay. But it's tricky. It's a little tricky. On Brig and poke phase or early fight, if shields are making it difficult to proc inspire, is it alright to play taking an aggressive position to get swings in? It depends on your comp, but yes, it can. Like, if the enemy team is playing like something like Brawly, you have to be really careful so you don't just instantly die. But yeah, it's okay to play forward to try and get a swing in. One little trick that a lot of Brigs sometimes will do is they'll go forward, they'll swing on the enemy team, and then they'll bash back. And generally, you only do that when there's not like a Genji or Tracer or a Ball or a Winston on the enemy team. But it will allow you to proc inspire, and then you can get out of dodge. But yeah, it's tough. If you need to do it, that's fine. You can try it, but be careful. I would need a lot more. Like I would need an actual video of this to really fully explain it, though. You have advice for getting value out of lamp. For the life of me, I can't see these at the right times. I always end up either seeing someone get burst down before I can get down, or I throw them in someone's crit, but they never actually get low enough to die. So the first thing is ult track, like so know what you need to lamp, and then if there's no real anything to ult track, look at what the enemy team is doing and think, okay, are they running Genji Tracer? Okay, I probably need to lamp myself for my backline. They're running like Mei Reaper, so I probably need to lamp my tank once they get rushed. So it's the same as EMPing trance. I want you to anticipate what you need to be doing with your lamp, and then practice using your lamp around that. Now that's not going to make it all of a sudden easy, but it is going to make it put you on the right path to actually using your lamp correctly. It's hard. It is very hard, but I want you to practice thinking about what you're going to lamp before you even have to lamp. How should different comps play against the Symmetra Hanamura stat on A? Give me some comps, Guppy. Is Guppy even in chat? I need comps. There's literally half a dozen comps that play on Hanamura first defense. Give me some comps. Hanamura point A. Overwatch. Brawl, spam, and dive. Give me a brawl. Give me a brawl comp. I want actual heroes that you've either seen in Overwatch or because there's way too much variance otherwise. Stupid Epic Pen is goofing on me. And Chad, if you've seen this comp before, you can help too. I only have about 5 more minutes, chat, just so you're aware. Ryan, Zarya, Kree, May, Brig, Moira. Okay, so you're defending with Ryan, Zarya, Kree, May. So you probably play something like this. Your May maybe plays here. Or actually, no, May can play here. There's no reason to be there. Ryan, Zarya, Kree's back here. Brig's here. Moira's like here-ish, okay? So you're ready to commit on any of these rotations. Now, they roll out in Symmetra. They roll out in Symmetra, which means that you need to be ready to crash into them. So as soon as you see or hear Symmetra, what you need to do is you need to take angles and push hard. So you don't want to just walk into them here. What you see, okay, they have Sim. What you do is you put your May or your Kree back here, and your Ryan, Zarya here, and then as soon as they TP, you smash into them. You Moira Orb, you Brig, you commit. And you commit from 2 different angles. The reason for that is a lot of teams generally run May Sim, and it also means that you're going to be able to pick off the Symmetra. Because remember, Symmetra is really squishy. Really squishy. So if you commit hard on the TP, it's probably going to be about right here. You can like cleave on the TP, Moira Orb, Brig, everything, flashbang, smash on top of them here. Okay, give me another comp. So basically, angles and smash. Give me another comp. This is probably going to be the last question. To onanate it, yes. If you can onanate the exit TP, that's excellent. Okay, so Ryan, Hog, Ashe, Genji, Moira, Lucio. So that's kind of a weird comp because it's like bad spam. But what you would do is you'd go, okay, we can't really crash in there immediately because we've got like Hog and Ashe, right? So what you do is you'd let them TP, you'd set up your Ashe like up here, maybe your Hog up here too, maybe even your Hog back here, you know? And you'd have your Ryan here and your Lucio Moira, you know, here, and your Genji like dancing around here. And you'd just spam. You'd dynamite, you'd right click, you'd look for hooks, you'd spam, 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 maybe give 1 tick. And then as soon as you get 1 tick and they're like low or they've forced enough cooldowns, you crash in hard. So your Ryan plays like super passive. Your Lucio Moira play really passive. More just like spammy, spammy, spammy. Maybe throw a Fire Strike, throw a Damage Orb in there, get some Lucio spam, throw some Shurikens, get a Dynamite, look for hooks. And then once you've given 1 tick, you go in hard. That's like pretty much what spam does. Spam just plays to take hard angles and spam them from a lot of different spots. Like you don't let the Symmetra charge up her beam. Right? So your Ryan doesn't show shield. You do not let Symmetra charge up her beam. You can dynamite in there. You can hook. Maybe your Genji can break turrets before you go in there. Your Lucio can do that too. And then you go in. So priority is spam, break turrets, don't feed Symmetra, and then hard commit once you get them low enough. Exactly. You can give up 1 tick because when they do it again next fight, you'll have ultimates to commit on. So you won't have to give up another tick next fight because you'll have ultimates immediately available. Like maybe you have Whole Hog, maybe you have Blade, maybe you have Bob, and then you don't need to wait to give up 1 tick. You can give up 1 tick or even 2 ticks the first fight and then give 0 ticks on all the fights after that because you'll have ultimates. What's going to happen if they go up top? So if they go up top here, so some teams will TP up here, same thing. They have to go to point. When they go to point, you set up your angles, you do it all over again. Because remember, your Ashe doesn't have to start here. She can start, you know, here or here. Oh no, they're TPing, I'm going to run away and go high ground. You set up your angles. Take your time. Okay, last thing you said, dive. What dive comp would we be looking at? Dive is really, it's really hard to play Symmetra into dive because she's so squishy. Winston, Ball, Tracer, Widow, on his own. Okay, so with Widow, you could play like here and get a good sightline on the point from here. Your Ana Zen could play like here-ish and then rotate through here. You could probably split your Ana and your Zen. So you could put your Ana like, you'd spam for a little bit first because you're running Widow on a Zen, so you don't have to commit immediately. Again, you give 1 tick. Your Zen can rotate like this way and spam in from here and like just break shields. Your Ana can play here. Your Ball can like roll through maybe and look for like roll through once and look to like disrupt and maybe get a pick. And then once you give 1 or 2 ticks, you commit hard. Your Ball rolls through, your Winston jumps in, your Ana can look for a nade from here while your Zen is spamming from here. your Widow can be like looking this direction, and then your Tracer would be coming from back here. And then your Tracer, Ball, Winston, Initiate. Tracer can also break turrets as well. And then your Widow has a good LOS, and you look for flank nade. So again, it's always angles. The Symmetra wants to just shoot in one direction, right? She wants to beam one direction. She wants to put her turrets in one direction. She doesn't want to get shot in a lot of different angles. So you attack from angles, and because you're running Ana, Zen, Widow, you don't have to commit early. Now, if you're playing like Sombra, Tracer, Moira, Lucio, I would dive as soon as they TP. I wouldn't even wait because you have low damage and you have high mobility. So I would just go immediately. But if you're playing like a spammier dive, you don't have to go immediately. You can wait. So in the Monkey, Diva, Genji, Tracer, Zen, Brig, it depends. Maybe you pressure dive early. Maybe see if you can get a pick, but you don't have as much spam. So play slow, play slow, play slow. Let your Zen get a little bit of spam, and then you hard commit because you're obviously low sustain.